Former Attorney General under George W. Bush, Alberto Gonzales, joins us now. I've got to ask you, first of all, do you think this is politicized?
Well, it is politicized by Trump and his supporters, no question about it. But in terms of you're asking me, is this investigation driven by politics? And I think one only has to look at the details that are set forth in the indictment. And to me, it's an inescapable conclusion that, in fact, there's a lot there that indicates that criminal wrongdoing occurred. And it's a job of the Department of Justice to investigate criminal wrongdoing and prosecute those who violate the law. And that is what I think Jack Smith is doing. And I think Merrick Garland, Attorney General Garland, was smart in appointing Jack Smith as a special counsel under DOJ regulations in order to reassure the American public that politics isn't involved in the investigation and prosecution of the case. And, I think Garland and the other political appointees at the Department of Justice have stepped back from this prosecution, as they should, quite frankly, given the fact that Donald Trump is the candidate for president against the man, Joe Biden, who appointed the Attorney General.
We even have today the Speaker of the House defending the storage of these documents in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom, saying at least the door has a lock on it. Representative Byron Donalds just said it's not just some random bathroom that guests can go into. There are 33 bathrooms at Mar-a-Lago. I just need to get your reaction to the dialogue and defense of this image that we're looking at right now, of these boxes of classified documents stacked in a bathroom.
Well, I think that's what the Republicans, many of the Republicans who are supporting the president, trying to defend his actions, are left with, quite honestly. I think that rather than attacking the process, attacking President Biden, attacking the Department of Justice, they ought to be looking at the conduct of Donald Trump. This could have been easily avoided if Donald Trump had simply returned the documents, had not made efforts to try to hide the documents, to try to stymie the investigation. And so, I just think that this is an opportunity for the Department of Justice, for this administration, to show that no matter who you are entitled to a fair trial under our system of justice. And that's what the Department of Justice is going to try to achieve here, despite all the rhetoric, despite efforts to the contrary. I think the department is going to do its best to ensure that people can continue to have confidence in the rule of law and the Department of Justice.
That's difficult. Right now, we are having many public figures, including the former president, talking about the fact that we cannot trust the rule of law, that the DOJ and the FBI are jackbooted thugs, that this is all a political vendetta. Today, Senator Marco Rubio said that former President Trump didn't hurt national security, even though polls show 80% of Americans outside core Republicans do think that Trump having these documents was a national security risk. Do you think it was a national security risk?
Well, we don't. It was certainly a risk. Whether or not there was damage to the national security of our country remains to be seen. We don't know who had access to these documents. We don't know why President Trump wanted to hang on to these documents. Was he sharing them with people that he shouldn't be sharing them with? Was he intended on selling them?
So are you saying that Senator Rubio doesn't know what he's talking about?
Well, I'm not suggesting that Senator Rubio doesn't know what he's talking about in every case. What I am suggesting is let the process work out. We have a process. The Department of Justice is doing its best. They're doing their job, investigating possible criminal wrongdoing. And if you look at that indictment, it's stunning. It really is. And I think comments that you're seeing from people like McCarthy and Rubio, that's politicizing this process. That is diverting attention from the actions of Donald Trump, at least as described in that indictment.
We're also hearing from Republican members of Congress that they're going to freeze all appointments at the DOJ because of this indictment. What's your reaction to that? They're actually going to bring to a stop the business of the Department of Justice because they're angry at this indictment.
Well, the department, there are 130,000 people that work there. I think many of the leadership has been confirmed, and there is in internal regulations a mechanism for moving up, finding out who's going to be next in line in terms of having supervisory authority. So I think the department can still operate. I think it sends a terrible signal. It's discouraging to the people at the Department of Justice. We must remember that over 99% of the people that work at the department are career individuals. And so they're the ones that are going to be punished. Less than 1% of political appointees.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.